The crowd is very into the football game because I was on their sides last week, and I thought to myself I shouldn't have worn anything Mainland, but we got out of there.
Tonight's Chuck Smith Show, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service, is also brought to you by our loyal sponsors. Charlie's Bar and Restaurant, located at 800 Shore Road in Summers Point. Meet your friends at Charlie's at the shore since '44. Chico & Son Sub Shop, located at 1620 Tilton Road, Northfield. Choose the #1 sub shop in South Jersey. And the Docks Place, located at 646 Bay Avenue in Summers Point. Book your dinner reservations now at 609-926-0404. Thank you for your support of Mainland Regional Football.
But when you have a solid program, a lot of that can take over what an individual might do. Before he releases the ball, he takes a shot right as he releases it here. And for him to stand in there in the face of that, and that's just the confidence that he has. And I found myself just trying to catch my breath for a bit because of the excitement and just the pressure of that moment. This is a game that the kids, you live for.
This is the Chuck Smith Show on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. Now, here's Coach Smith and your host, Nick Kosko.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Chuck Smith Show right here on Cape Atlantic Live. I'm your host, Nick Kosko, and with me, as he is every week, is Mainland head coach Chuck Smith. Coach, good to talk to you again. Right after a playoff win, too, on that Saturday morning at the Corral, 43-7 over rival Ocean City. You guys advanced to the semifinals of the South Jersey Group 3 sectional playoffs. You're going to take on #1 seed Burlington Township on the road this Friday night. But first, we'll start with the quarterfinal game, a rematch at Ocean City, and we talked about it last week. Always tough to beat a team twice, but you guys did even better this time around in that 43-7 win. Let's just start there. Saturday morning flair against the rival, and you guys are advancing in the playoffs here.
Yeah, I'm glad we're not doing a wrap-up show of the season right now. It's always good to extend it another week. But, the boys came out to play. They came out with a lot of energy, a mission. One of our goals at the beginning of the season was to get back to the sectional championship. And, you got to take care of business 1 week at a time. We're at this point in the season. And kids came out with something to prove, and they did it right from the start, and against a good Ocean City team, a team that came off a big victory, had a lot of energy going their way, and we were just able to match it. And, the effort, especially defensively, was just unbelievable on Saturday.
Yeah, your defense pitched a shutout in that win. And again, the only touchdown from Ocean City was that second half kickoff to begin the third quarter. But other than that, defense played extremely well. The offense, we'll start there first. John Franchini, 5 total touchdowns. He had 3 touchdown passes, 2 touchdown runs, over 100 yards rushing as well. So as the offense went, he went, or vice versa. But it seemed like everyone was contributing on offense. A very solid game plan. You guys methodically moved down the field multiple times and obviously built a big lead at one point in the second half to kind of put the game away. What can you say about your offense, considering the last time you guys played Ocean City, I believe you guys were shut out offensively in the second half?
Yeah. The first time we played them, I think we scored the first 3 times. We had the ball and had a chance to score again with a field goal and missed it. And then, we had the injury to Chase. That kind of took the wind out of the sails. I mean, our defense played great in that game also. Came out, I think there was 5 turnovers in that game. But it's hard to be a team twice. And, Ocean City was coming off a big victory, got them into playoffs against Cedar Creek. And, the offense came out, and I wouldn't say we were great on offense. I think we were more opportunistic on offense the other day. Johnny accounted for 5 of his 6 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 3 passing. Got off to a good start again, with getting a safety and then scoring on the next 2 possessions after the safety. And, and then the second half, we really got it rolling again, and he did a good job directing the offense, and we did a good job throwing the football, but we were given great field position because of our defense. We really didn't have to drive the field at all during the game.
When you look at what your defense did on Saturday, and you mentioned that safety too, it was a low snap when Ocean City was going to punt the football. The punter's knee hit the end zone, so it was called a safety. So it kind of just turned the game, kind of turned on its head a little bit at that point. Early on, when your defense does that well against a pretty solid rushing attack that we've seen from Ocean City this year. And again, if people were watching that game last week against Cedar Creek in the regular season finale, they were quarterback and running back. they were pretty much gashing the defense a little bit of Cedar Creek at times, and of course had that late rally. Were your guys able just to pretty much fly to the football at that point? It just seems like they were more locked in on containing that offense this time around.
Yeah, we do. We do a very potent rushing attack, with the quarterback and the running back. And, he showed himself to be a very efficient passer, too. He hit a big pass against us in the first game. He hit a big one against Cedar Creek, to put it right down to the goal line. But our defense was just suffocating the other night. I think when we did the final stats on the game, I think they had 23 total yards on offense, which, just a statement to the kids and the scheme and the coaching staff on the defensive side to put that together in such a big effort in a playoff game. But it was across the board. I mean, so many kids contributed. I think we had, 4 or 5 kids had sacks in the game. Multiple kids were in double digits and tackles and TFLs and stuff like that. It was just one of the best performances I've seen in a big game defensively in quite some time.
There's always a little bit more juice when it comes to the playoffs, but with the way the brackets ended up shaking out this year for the sectionals, and obviously, if you guys were to keep advancing even to the state semifinal level, it looks like that would be the last home game for you guys this year in 2025, and the last home game for those seniors that we were talking about just last week. I guess my question is, not only was there juice for the playoffs, did the senior class and pretty much everybody else say, hey, this is the last time we're going to be at the comforts of our own turf here on this Saturday morning. We really have to go out there and put on a good performance. Was there something like that in the air, especially on a Saturday morning?
Yeah, we talked about it Friday at our pregame walkthrough. When I talked to the team afterwards and talked to the seniors, hey, this is more than likely your last home game tomorrow, at the Corral. And we were 2-2 at home, going into that game. So we wanted to make sure we finished with a winning record at home. It's going to be the last time the seniors got to play Ocean City, which always adds a little more incentive to it, let alone anytime you play them, but just in a playoff game also, So I think there was a lot of that. You saw that after the game too. The seniors sticking around the field, taking pictures with each other, coaches, the scoreboard in the background. It was a special moment. These kids have really been the backbone of a great 4-year run and multiple championships and lots of wins. And, the end is kind of in sight in a way, Yeah. And I think the reality of it, hit them a little bit, especially after the game, Yeah. But it was nice to see them all out there. It was like a really great feeling out there.
Yeah. So let's dive into some highlights from this game. Again, an all-around performance from your guys. We'll start in the first quarter at the end right here as a John Franchine touchdown pass. Liam Kennedy made a nice adjustment here in the end zone.
Yeah, it was a great adjustment by Liam. It was the second read for the quarterback. We actually had a number one option on that, but they double covered it. And Johnny had enough time to pull around. Great protection, as you could see, the pocket. And Liam did a good job coming back for the ball and using his body and his frame to stretch up for that catch. Big score to put us up by a couple of touchdowns early on.
So we'll go over to the second touchdown pass I'll show right here. This will be Johnny's touchdown to Jake Blum, who, again, just shows off his athleticism, keeping his feet in bounds, and then just tightrope in the sidiline in the third quarter. Yeah,
it was a big play for us. I believe it was a third down play, and Johnny found him on the side there. And Jake, I didn't realize there was that much room over there for Jake to catch the ball and make a move and then go up the sideline, because I was on the side. I thought, okay, we got the first down. And then next thing I know, he was still running down the sideline. I was like, wow, okay. But that was kind of like it's the last couple of games, I would say, they're starting to get that connection back again. We had a little bit, wasn't really happening early in the season. Jake had some injuries he was battling through, coming back around. We're moving him around different positions and stuff. And that due to some of the injuries we had to move him around again. And it seems like they're starting to get that chemistry again, which is nice that it's happened at this time of the year.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll look at the last highlight here, and just another touchdown for Jake Blum to add to that career total. So Johnny puts the game away right here. A good read option run here from the quarterback, and talk about it all year. His legs have really opened up the offense in a new dimension, and he just outran everybody here.
Yeah, he did a great job. I think that was the touchdown that really, like the straw that broke the back right there. Did a great job on the read. He's done a good job with these plays all year long, and he has deceptive speed. He doesn't really look overly fast, but somehow he pulls away from people all the time. And I think that was his second 100-yard rushing game of the season, which, I think the most yards he had in any game prior to this in 3 years was maybe 50 yards, But he did a great job on that play, and that, like I said, that was a big big score for us just to kind of get a little bit of distance from Ocean City.
Yeah, 106 rushing yards for Johnny on the ground. Again, 5 total touchdowns. So we'll look ahead now to Friday night at 6 o'clock. You guys are on the road at Burlington Township. They're 10-0 this season. They beat Timber Creek in the first round, 18-8. A little bit of an upset scare if you're going by the seedings. Timber Creek struggled coming into the playoffs, but showed why they're still a historic program when it comes to the postseason and really gave them a battle last week. So just first impressions of Burlington Township. I know you guys haven't played them in 4 years, and that was a rare, I guess, West Jersey crossover game back in September of 4 years ago. What have you noticed from the squad this year?
Yeah, they got a lot of good players. I was able to go up and see them play on Friday night. I only saw the second half because we got there late from practice. But a lot of talent on the team, skill position players. They got size. There's a reason why they're 10-0, and number 1 seed. Coach Everett, I've known him for a number of years. We coached together in the North-South All-Star game. Great coach. He was at Willingboro, had a lot of success at Willingboro, and he's doing the same thing in his second year at Burlington Township. And, they come to play. They play with a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, and they got some players on that team. The running back pops off the tape, right away. And when you see him live, he's just he's got not only does he got speed, he's got great vision, great cutting ability, tough kid to bring down. Their starting quarterback came back in the second half of the game the other night to lead them to the victory. He'd been out for some time with a broken collarbone, and he's a big kid, probably like 6'2", 205 or so. Strong arm, big body, runs the ball well too, because we saw him earlier in the season run the football a lot. They got a freshman wide receiver who looks like he's a senior. Very gifted, very athletic. And his brother is a senior linebacker, his junior senior linebacker, number 8, who just seems to be moving every single play. And they're very, very fast defensively. They really fly to the football, But it's a tough task, And this is, when you get to this part of the season, you're going to be playing good teams. And, that's this challenge that's ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned the quarterbacks, Eddie McNair and Bryce Carter. Regardless of who was in there, they combined this year for 17 touchdowns, only 4 picks, and they had over 1,000 yards passing this year. The running back, Aiden Binns, who you referred to as well, he has 1,500 yards on the ground, 17 touchdowns. And then you mentioned the freshman wide receiver, Gerald Sackey, and I was looking at his stat line coming into the week, and I'm like, oh, my God, he's got almost 600 yards receiving. He's got 14 of those 17 touchdown passes. So he's only a freshman, as you mentioned. So what makes a young player that good for a team like that, where it just seems like they can spread the ball around? They're very fast. They're obviously big up front, but they're able to, utilize a young skill guy like that, and he doesn't seem fazed by anything.
Yeah, it's a system they have, the spread offense, and the quarterback's good. You got to have a good quarterback when you're running the spread. Yeah. Especially if you're mixing the run and the pass game in there and some of the zone reads and things like that. It keeps you uneasy because some teams might only have a receiver. You can kind of gang up and scheme against that. But these guys have a receiver and a running back and a quarterback also. Like you said, the running back has 1,500 yards rushing. That's a lot of yardage at this level. But he's tremendous. He looks like a Christian McCaffrey type of kid. He can do a little bit of everything. They put him out on the outside to catch the ball. Motion him around. They do the same thing with number 4. Number 4 is all the freshman receiver. Yeah. He's all over the place. He could be at slot. He could be in the backfield. So they got the weapons to keep you off balance. And then you add the quarterback, in there. So they're a 3-headed monster there on offense, and they got the size up front to play a little bully ball on you. Yeah. They got some big boys up front.
Yeah, Gerald Sackey, their freshman wide receiver, his older brother. I hope I'm getting his name right. Jamal Sackey. He's a linebacker along with Chase Carthen. Seems like they're 2 leading tacklers right in the middle of that defense. And this is a very talented team where they've been battle tested. They made the playoffs last year up in the central bracket in Group 3. When you're looking at to attack their defense, and I know I ask you every week, but I would imagine you guys are going to stick to your same game plan with a few tweaks and adjustments along the lines as well. So when you try to look at those 2 leading tacklers and try to, maybe get by their big defensive line and maybe beat them to the second level, what really sticks out about trying to beat their defense on Friday?
Well, they're fast. They're very, and they like to cause a lot of chaos, with the stunting and whatnot. They look like they're going to bring everybody. Sometimes they don't bring anybody, and then a lot of times they're bringing 2 or 3 guys at a time.
Mhm.
So we have to be prepared for that with the schemes that we're practicing this week and so forth, because we know they're going to bring pressure. That's what they do. They fly through the football. They're very aggressive on defense. They're talented. They're talented. To get undefeated, you have to, you win with defenses. As much as I'm an offensive guy, you win with defense.
Yeah.
And their defense is like the other night. Their offense pushed the ball around a little bit, but then kind of bogged down in the red zone. But the defense kept them in the game the whole time, to get them in position. I mean, it was an 8-8 ball game with 10 minutes left to go. And then defense was able to hold Timber Creek and get short field and capitalize on that, and then get a force of safety for the quarterback, it's just one of those things, you play a fast team, you got to be smart about what you're doing, because you can't be super fancy about it, because they'll just blow you up the whole time. So we're really trying to practice things this week to just get ready for that.
Yeah, getting ready for a lot of speed. And about Burlington Township's recent history, I was always curious about when you guys last played, and that was 4 years ago. They kind of got the best of you at home when you guys had to take a trip out there. They ended up making the playoffs that year in Group 3, got to the sectional semifinals, but they were 8-2 that year. And then I'm even looking at last year, Coach Everett's first year after a down 2023 season. He comes in just last year. They go 8-2, and then their 2 losses last year. They lost to Hopewell Valley at home by a point, and then they got upset by Delsey in the first round of the sectional playoffs just last year. But when you combine it all together, Coach Everett led that team to an 18-2 record to this point over the course of 2 years, and they seem to be battle tested. What can you say about Coach Everett, considering you did coach them during the All-Star game? What has he done with that program to pretty much turn them around just like that?
Yeah, he's a great coach, and he's a good motivator, good leader. He was the head coach for the South team 2 years. I was an assistant on his staff. We've been together on committees for the North-South All-Star game, so I've gotten to know him over the last few years, and I've always known of him just from football world. But he did a great job with Willingboro before that. His teams made it to championship games and so forth. So, he knows what he's doing. Wherever he's been a winner. And now he's brought that to Burlington Township, and you can see the enthusiasm with the kids, the way they come out and play. It's just different, that's why he's one of the best coaches around.
Yeah. A couple more for you, Coach. Appreciate your time tonight, as always. So you guys are taking the trip now. Again, we've been pretty used to seeing you guys over the last couple of years, en route to sectional titles and state titles. You play a lot of games at home in the playoffs, especially just last year. Played the whole sectional bracket at home before traveling up north for the state semifinals. What's it like taking a road trip now? And I know you guys are taking road trips this year to, familiar schools, and obviously other schools that are, of, and you really didn't have to go too far this year, I'm pretty sure, other than, playing a showcase game at the beginning of the year in Delaware. But you guys went out to Winslow. But other than that, it's been a pretty, home, a lot of proximity to home this year. Now you got to go out towards Philly. They're a true West Jersey school. What's this road trip going to be like on Friday night, considering it was also a short week for you guys as well?
Yeah, it's a haul. When we drove up the other night, it was a hour and 15 in a car.
Yeah,
at least an hour and a half on a bus. The thing I think that helps us this week is there's no school Thursday and Friday. So we're able to kind of make Friday kind of like how we would a home game anyway before we get on the bus. We used to have meetings, position meetings, a team meeting, walkthroughs and stuff like that. When we're usually on the road, we get out of school, we get changed, and we're on the bus. When we're home, we have that extra time to do those things. So since we have the extra time built into it with Friday, no school, we're kind of going through that routine before we get onto the bus. Sometimes I don't mind the long bus ride. I think sometimes it just helps you get a little more focused as you're on the ride. The kids are very serious, when they're on the buses. They listen to their music or whatever, but they're thinking about the game and getting ready. And we know this is a big game for us. It's a big game for them too, obviously. We're looking to get back. Like I said before, the goal was to get back to the sectional final, and we got to win this week to have that opportunity. And we know it's not going to be an easy task. It's a great team that we're going to go up against, being a number 1 seed and well earned by them. And to go up there to their home field to play it, against our crowd, and their crowd is very into the football game, because I was on their sides last week. And, I thought to myself, I shouldn't have worn anything Mainland, but we got out of there, But it'll be a good challenge, and when you're in the playoffs and you hit to the second round, and you're going to play good teams eventually, and you got to get by them. If you want to win that ultimate prize, you got to play great teams. You got to rise to the occasion, and that's the challenge we have on Friday.
Yeah, the South Jersey Group 3 bracket is very enticing. You guys take on an undefeated Burlington Township team. And, of course, for the Cape Atlantic League flavor, you have Pleasantville at Cedar Creek in the other sectional semifinals. So two of those teams are going to still be standing next weekend. The last one I have for you, granted that you guys have been in this position before over the last 3 years, 3 sectional titles in a row, and obviously 2 trips to the state championship game with 1 win as well. When you look at the experience that you guys have had over the last few years, I should say, especially the senior class. I know we've talked about it before, but the senior class is used to these types of moments. I got to imagine in your head and your staff's head and the players' head, not that they're going to be overconfident, but they're like, we've been here before and we know what it takes, despite the fact that we have a new group this year and we're facing a different team that we haven't faced before, but they know the situation pretty well.
Yeah. We've been in a lot of big games over the years, over this senior's career, really. But I noticed last week, we hit this part of the season, things change.
Yeah.
Practice is fun, all year long. You kind of make it a little light, fun, but, you're focused and you're trying to get better every week and all. But when the playoffs hit, there's just an extra amount of attention to detail, and I could see that in the kids last week. And it's been that way this week too, where they are really focused because they're on the mission. It's kind of like you play the season. Yep. You have goals and things like that throughout the season, obviously. But, with this group and what we've done in the past, we know what the bigger prize is and what our goal is, because once you get a taste of it, you always want to have it. And these kids really, I just see practice has been so different the last 2 weeks, just like it has been in previous years in the postseason. Just attention to detail, very focused. I don't want to say it's overly serious, but it gets, you can cut the air with a knife, out there because everybody's just so involved in what's going on. Even the young kids, I think they realize now why we've been so good over the past few years. Yeah, we've had some great talent, don't get me wrong,
right, but
it's how we do things. And I think the young kids, it's been a big kind of like an eye opener. And a good experience for them to see this is the standard that we have, and this is what we want to do. Now they know that they're the next guys in line to live up to that standard, and the seniors are doing a good job of setting that example this week and last week also.
Yeah, we'll see if it matriculates to Friday night and for weeks on end here in 2025. And obviously for 2026 and 27 in the future, you mentioned those young guys, see how this process keeps going so it's not one of those lulls that a lot of high school programs have after years of success. So 6 p.m. Friday night, Mainland at Burlington Township. Coach, good luck on Friday. We'll be talking next week. Hopefully you guys are obviously playing for another sectional title. See how this one goes. It should be a great battle with Burlington on Friday night.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I appreciate it. And hopefully we're not doing a wrap-up show. That's for sure.
We'll postpone the wrap-up show for weeks down the line at this point. Chuck Smith Show right here on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service.